Yeah, what I was saying was like, because I know we want to talk about, his death and, how the treachery took place within the nation. Um, and, I feel as though, the Muhammad Ali situation kind of caused a lot of envy as well. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, though, when you look at the envy that they had for El Hajj Malik El Shabazz, they excommunicated him. He got a letter, what I'm saying, from Elijah, and they excommunicated him from. They see a lot of people think he walked away. No, 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 no. He tried to come back and give them the word. He tried to come back and give them the guidance, but they just would deny it time and time again. You know what I'm saying? Due to X, Y, and Z reason. True disbelief or envy of him or whatever the case may be, and they excommunicated him. He got a letter. He got a letter of being suspended or dismissed, if you will. And
remember when he said something about JFK. Remember?
Yeah. And obviously we know
they use that.
They use that as a bargaining chip, as an excuse, really, right, to excommunicate him, because we know JFK with non-profit organizations. See, a lot of people don't realize this. With non-profit organizations, JFK was allowing them to earn, right? It was a particular law that he put in, for you to have a religious, excuse me, not non-profit, religious organizations. They went non-taxable. They're non-taxable. Right. So we know that the nation, with all of their business that they was doing, they was behind JFK for this sole reason. Because why wouldn't we be behind somebody who's not taxing us on our businesses that we get to put out? Because it's under the religious Nation of Islam's umbrella. Same way the Mormons get to do, how the Mormons have their own land and stuff like that. It's the same way the Nation of Islam was trying to do as well. You know what I'm saying? With their own religion. Obviously, we know it's not a religion like actually Mormons are, but still, they was able to have the organization of that same creed, if you will. So, that's why what he said about JFK, kind of rubbed, the leadership over there in the wrong way, because it was hurting their pockets. It was hurting their pockets, and that goes to show you where their mind and where their heart was at the whole entire time.
Right. I'm glad you mentioned that. I didn't look at it from I never looked at it from that angle. You know what I'm saying? You just enlightened me. But continue. Go ahead.
No, because when you look at the nation, a lot of people look at the nation, like you said, we can't deny the true proper, and give true proper credence to them and say that they didn't do no right for the community. No, that's an absolute fact. They did a lot of positive. Like we said, one of the best drug rehab programs America has ever seen has came from the NOI. But at the end of the day, we know, if you study the history of them, we know that, like you said, they lived in baby mansions. You know what I'm saying? They dressed up in nice, elegant suits, and it wasn't so much of a humble or pious organization. Even with their disbelief, they still could have been humble and pious. They still could have been.
Yeah, true.
You know,
we don't deny. They just mention about we don't deny their financial literacy.
That's right.
They were one of the first pioneers. They were the pioneers of this.
That's right.
They were some of the pioneers of this. You be talking about Black Wall Street. They had their own Black Wall Street.
That's right.
In many cities.
That's right.
That's a fact. You know what I'm saying? So they were some of the pioneers of this back in the 30s and the 40s, 50s, and the 60s. We talked about before about how they getting fish from Peru. Tons and tons. And how the mafia tried to tax them, and then, they wouldn't, we know they weren't going for that. They stepped to the mafia, and the mafia stood down.
Yep.
That was best for them. They know.
If you look at the relationship between JFK and the mafia, you see the correlation. It's a lot of moving parts in the 60s. You got the NOI.
A lot of moving parts.
You got El Hajj Malik El Shabazz. You got the Italian mafia at is height, at its peak, in its heyday, and then you got JFK. If you look at his father, who was a part of the Irish mafia, you know what I'm saying? And you look at all of those playing parts, and they all kind of played into a fact of El Hajj Malik El Shabazz being murdered. You know what I'm saying? In that sense.
That's a great point, because he was a thorn. He was a thorn in all their backs.
In all their backs.
He was a thorn to the nation, the CIA, the La Cosa Nostra, the mafia, the black gangsters. And saying, because you got to realize, he was drug dealers, converting addicts. Reforming them, so he was reforming them to be law-abiding citizens. So he was messing with many people's money.
That's right.
Not only in one city, in all the big cities of America, he was doing this. On a national scale. This wasn't no local thing he was doing. You know what I'm saying? So he was fooling all their backs. So even the ones who didn't have direct involvement in his murder, I'm sure they were happy that he was gone.
That's right. That's
you know
right.
What I'm saying? But with that being said, they don't understand. They don't understand. As one of the martyrs of Surah Yasin, he says, "Oh Allah, forgive my people. They don't know any better." You know what I'm saying? He says more or less, if they would know, and he said, "Oh Lord, if they knew how you have honored me in paradise for me giving my life to please you, they wouldn't have treated me the way they did." They don't know any better. You know what I'm saying? So because they are worldly people. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So, this is what we're talking about now. So we're talking about, but let's go back to some of the, because not only that, we know Malcolm had joined forces with Martin Luther King. They joined, and said Malcolm had brought him in. Because Malcolm had, Martin was an astronomical, fighter for our rights. There's no taking away from what he did for our people.
1,000%.
But Malcolm was global. See, had a vision. Malcolm had a vision. The vision was to tell the world governments what America's doing, so they can pressure America in changing their ways. We're not going to do export import with you. We're not going to do business with you. We're not going to respect you at the United Nations and so forth and so on, if you continue to misrepresent yourself as a beacon of freedom. You got to tell us how to police our people, but yet you're oppressing your people. You're no different than apartheid in South Africa. There's no difference.
Facts.
You're a hypocrite. So these countries are calling America on this to the point where Malcolm and Martin had a great plan, but it was Malcolm's vision, and Martin was down with it. They was down with it. They was joining forces. They were going to have all the nations. And the nations was that call. They were behind them. They was going to pressure America. I'm telling you, I believe, and God knows best, Allah knows best, that they was going to pressure America to change their ways, to reform, to make some real reformation, to the point where you talk about 40 acres and a mule. They was going to, there's to be some real reparations, bro. They have no choice. They have no choice. They have no choice but to come to the table, because all the countries that they did business with was going to stand down for them, was going to stand back off for them.
That's right. Well, once you in the more of what you're saying, right? What we kind of get into by not even saying it, it's unspoken, is that when you start messing with people's pockets, things start changing. That's the true effect of a person, of a community, of a state, of a country. When you start messing with somebody's pockets, things start changing. And that's the true result and effect that you can make a change in this world. You know what I'm saying? Is when you start messing with people's pockets. You got to become a disruptor.
And look, well, brother, and then I'm going to let you expound on it. Expound on it. Use example. The Martin used example of boycotting the buses. We had to do some, was maybe to sit in the back. And that's what their pockets. But on a global scale, Malcolm was about to mess with their foreign policy. Their, like for example, we know that America was heavily and still is heavily dependent on the Middle East for oil.
That's right.
Malcolm was going to mess that up. See, Malcolm was sitting with the king of Saudi Arabia, King Fahd. Sitting with him as an equal. King Fahd is saying, Allah, look how Allah elevated Malcolm from a prisoner to one that the king and the president sit with him. Malcolm, whatever you want, we behind you. Whatever you want, we behind you. That's what Allah do to a person. When Allah elevate a person, when Allah make a person a king, when Allah make a person a Khalifa, his representative, then the kings and queens and presidents will become, what's the word? almost to them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They would come submissive to them. They would come obedient to them. They would be at their beck and call.
Supportive. That's probably the better word.
Supportive. So now, supportive is a better word. So Malcolm was about to mess up trillions of dollars, my brother. Understand what was going on, my brother.
That's right.
Understand what's going on. He was putting economic, financial pressure on America. Yeah, that was what was going down. So America would have had no choice but to come to the table with Malcolm and Martin to repay us, give us our rights, give us our reparations. So they said, what did they say? They said, it'd be a cold day in hell before we pay those people. Guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna kill both of them. Instead of them coming to the truth, and acknowledging their truth and fixing their wrongs, and making amends and repenting for Allah, repenting to God, and making amends with the people who they oppress, they decided to remove Malcolm and Martin from this earth. That's what they decided to do.
But okay, so I'm glad that you said that, right? Because that's what they decided to do, right? As we're saying they as in the government, right? We know this was a government plan, right? That was all set forth, right? Same thing with the mafia. Once JFK started messing with their money, right? Because it was really his brother. His brother John was messing. His brother Robert was messing up the money. Robert was messing up the money, and Robert wanted to be a thorn and wanted to really, be a thorn in the mafia side. So he was really kind of messing it up for John, and that's what caused his death. So we realized that there was 3 major murders in terms of leadership in this country around that time: JFK, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. Right? And Robert Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, after John, but I'm just talking about for that time frame, Well, he came shortly after, so we'll count him because he came shortly after. So we'll count him in there, Robert, as well. And you see all of those playing parts. Each of them has an organization behind them that realized that their money was going to be messed with. Even the church, the Christian church, I'm pretty sure they had some qualms, or some quarrels with Martin Luther King cozying up with Malcolm, you know what I'm saying, because of the religion difference, how the southern black person and the northern black person can come together, and put their religion aside and able to come together as a community as one. And this will hurt the church, because that means that more people in the South will hear the message of Malcolm, and more people in the South might become Muslim. This will hurt the church pockets. So I'm pretty sure they was kind of giving Martin, some pushback as well. I'm pretty sure if I do some history on that, I probably can find some support. As a matter of fact, his daughter actually said recently that they wasn't supporting my father like now as they should have been back then. And she was talking about her people in the church and black people in general, so his approval rate, Martin Luther King's approval rate, was an all-time low. I believe his approval rate was in the 30s. This is amongst black people and white people and America. They wasn't rocking with him.
Seconds remaining. But I'm saying, of course, you're going to have people like that. I'm sure there was people that supported it also. But what you saying makes sense.
Because he was hurting their pockets, Pop. He was hurting their pockets.
Yeah, right. It's a great thing was about to go down, brother.
Yep.
They were on a whole nother level, brother.
Whole nother level.
A whole nother level. Look at the strategy. You're talking about a non-violent strategy. Think about a solution. Look at Malcolm. You have 30 seconds remaining. This is genius.
Genius.
And then, what I'm saying, hopefully when I call you back, we complete it. We're finished. I love you, my son.
Inshallah. Wa alaikum assalam. Love you too, Pop.
Okay. Assalamu
alaikum. With Malcolm X at the time, or Hajj Malik El Shabazz, what he transformed into after coming back from Hajj. That's where we kind of left off at. and he's coming back from
Okay, come back
Hajj.
from Hajj.
You know, he's changing his ideal, he's changing his reality. You know, he's changing his perspective on his activism efforts. You know, which was a major
Right.
step for not only just him, but for Black people in general. Not only for Black people, but for America in general. And then that had a snowball effect with him and Martin sitting down, and you know, the Kennedy situation. You know, is a whole lot of mitigating factors that played into, you know, his ultimate demise towards the end. But that's where we kind of left off
Yeah.
at there.
Yeah. Well, joining Martin Luther King was an epic union, right? So, and then, you know, he put Martin because Martin, you know, was, as we know, dealing with civil rights over here, which, you know, rightfully so. So was Malcolm,
Right.
but Malcolm gave him a different strategy,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
A global strategy, right? So, you know, Martin was harping on, as well as Malcolm, putting pressure from within, you know, marching, protesting, doing it with economical strikes, like, you know, how they protested from boycotting, you know, boycotts and so forth and so on,
Right.
which was very effective. But it had nothing on the effect of now going to the
What?
heads of states.
One
of
sec.
the
One
world.
one second, Pop. 1 sec. Give me like 30
Yes.
seconds. I'll come right back to you. I got you.
Yes. Malcolm his strategy was for him and Martin to expose the fallacy or the lie that America is a beacon of freedom. This is a lie. Basically, they was telling them, hold up, America is worse than apartheid.
That's right.
In reality.
That's right.
Because the oppression has been far much longer. So now they was telling these governments, specifically governments like Saudi Arabia, because we know America then and now were heavily dependent on their oil import. The import of, how I say, the import of oil to, over here to the country.
Absolutely.
So imagine now Malcolm is a Muslim, a true Muslim. He made Hajj, right? And he's a worldly renowned leader for the people. Brother, I saw a picture. Hopefully you can get it, or I can send it to you. A picture with him sitting with King Fahd. I think it was King Fahd at the time. Brother, do you know how big that is? King Fahd was the leader of the royal family over there, for the Saudi family over there.
Absolutely.
They don't sit with anybody, bro. They don't sit with anybody. Bro, to sit in the company of King Fahd, you gotta be somebody. And he's sitting with respect. Look how long it's elevated Malcolm to sit with King Fahd. The king of, I think his name was Nicola, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, of Ghana. President Jamal Abdel Nasser of Egypt, rahimahullah ta'ala. Right? The Muslim president of Libya, rahimahullah ta'ala, may Allah mercy on their souls. Right? He's sitting with presidents, Muslim and non-Muslim, across the world, as well as Russia and China was even getting behind him. And of course, they had probably another agenda to be a thorn in America's back. We know that. You know, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Yeah. But hey, they all was behind him. Really, the whole world was behind him. He became like, what's the word? Maybe you can help me out. Some type of unsaid,
he's like,
really leader of the world.
Yeah, he became, to me, he became a global phenomenon in terms of in activism, though. Usually global phenomenons were athletes, especially during that time, athletes or entertainers or you know, people of much more higher title and status, like kings or queens of such. But for an activist to go global is very, very, very rare.
I'm saying it might never happen again, especially a person coming from a jail cell,
Facts.
a prison cell.
Facts.
Look what Allah does. Look what Allah does when you're sincere. When you're sincere, Allah will guide us and then elevate us. Now check this out. I was reading that many, like the president of Egypt, the president of Ghana, and I'm sure many other ones, did you know they offered him high positions in their administration?
I did not know that. Wow.
Yes, they did. They told him Malcolm, because one time when he was over Egypt, the CIA was following him. We know that, right?
Absolutely.
But this time, he was in Egypt in a restaurant. I mean, I'm saying he's with a few brothers, and then he also had, some chaperones that Egypt had provided him. Right? And while he was in the restaurant, they saw the CIA man follow him. They seen him. But Malcolm's not, he trusts in the law, he good. But Malcolm, his food, we bit to his food, he started coughing and spitting out. He was poison bugs. Come to find out, the CIA agent had poisoned his food somehow to the kitchen. And he was rushed to the hospital and had to get his stomach pumped out.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, and that took place. What country did that take place in?
Egypt.
Okay, I wanna quickly just stop right there, because a lot of people, right, even what I've heard from a lot of people, believe that the Saudis, like the Saudi Arabian kings and them, and they try to poison Malcolm, but no, that didn't take place. Like you just said, the CIA tried to poison him when he was in Egypt. So I want to clear that up. There is a major misconceptions out there that the Saudis try to poison him, and this is why some black people do have some not good liking towards the Middle Eastern Muslims in that regard, But go ahead. I just want to stop there.
That's not true. In fact, that's not true. There's no evidence to back that up. In fact, the Saudi family had appointed him an African sheikh, an African scholar. I think from the Cameroon, if I'm not mistaken, to teach him Islam. I saw a picture of him. In fact, he made janazah over Malcolm's body, right? Hajj Malik El Shabazz's body, rahimahullah, when he passed away.
Oh, wow.
They assigned him to teach Malcolm, Hajj Malik El Shabazz, rahimahullah. Even when he came to the States, he lived with the sheikh. He lived with Malcolm. He lived with him and taught him every day Islam. Yes. That's a fact. So, if he wanted to poison, they'd have been poisoning through him. I mean, you know what I'm saying? But that's not true. Anywho, we see that after he got poisoned, and so when these governments saw that, they knew that many attempts were going to be on his life.
That's right.
And of course, when you plan with people's foreign policy, because what happened is, listen, this is what I believe. If Malcolm would have lived, and Martin would have lived, America would have had no choice by being pressured by the other countries, these other superpowers. By being pressured by them as far as business and so forth and so on, and their foreign policy, so forth and so on, they would have had to come to the table and really give us substantial reparations. Something substantial. They would come to the table and give us our rights, bro. On a grand scale. Right. So they said, listen, instead of us trying to repay these people, we just want to get rid of the problem.
That's
right. We're going to cut the head of the state.
That's right.
That's what they think.
And it's evil genius. Always, I don't like to give credit. I don't know if credit is the right word, but you got to give it its just due for America, like the body of America. People think, it's not just the president making these calls. It's the House of Representatives. It's the leaders as far as banking, the leaders as far as entertainment, who run these movie companies and stuff like that. These all of those people sit down, I'm pretty sure, in a meeting, and they say, you know what? It's time to get rid of the problem. You know what I'm saying? And it's evil genius, Pop. Like, when you really think about it, it is evil genius. Most people would just say, let's get rid of the issue. No, we got to get rid of the person to eliminate the issue.
Well, listen, you could call it evil genius, and there'll be maybe there's some worldly success from it. But that evil genius, we know will lead them to the hellfire.
That's a fact.
So, is it genius or is it foolish? I'm saying,
is it foolish?
Or is it stupidity?
I hear you.
Ultimately, it's evil stupidity because it's going to lead them to the hellfire for eternal damnation. So how can something genius? I'm saying that genius only with a paradise. That's what I'm saying. Somebody intelligent.
You're right. Okay, good. I like that. I appreciate the correction.
The destination determines a person's intellect at the end of the day. When they go to the hellfire paradise.
The end goal.
So they let themselves out by it, and God knows best. Unless they repent. Anywho, check what Malcolm says when they offer him this position. He says to them, instead of me accepting, he says, instead of me accepting some money from me and my family, for me and my family's well-being, I must refuse, because I'm not going to accept money for me and my family's well-being until my people in my country get money and get improvement for their living. Until their way of living is being improved, I won't just move out and leave them, abandon them, and get money for myself. This is the true meaning of altruism. This is the true meaning of selflessness and courage, and really sincerely being for your people. This is prophetic. Prophets think like this. May Allah have mercy on their souls. May Allah be pleased with all of them. Have peace and blessing upon all of them. And friends of God also become, they prefer the people over themselves. They prefer the people over themselves. This is rare.
Very.
He could have stayed over in Africa, Egypt, Saudi, and lived a lavish, luxurious, opulent life. Trust and believe, well, they'd have been glad to have you. But he refused to do it.
Putting his people first.
Not only did he sacrifice his wealth for Allah's sake, he gave his life for Allah's sake.
Absolutely. And
so yeah, go ahead.
A lot of people would say that could be there's two sides to the coin of that, right? Like you see sometime often depicted in movies or just in documentaries with a lot of activists to where they take time away from their own families, right? And they put all of their energy into helping their communities or to helping their state or their country, right? But then they kind of neglect their own families, right? Just due to the time, right? Like you're always gone, you're always on the road, you're always traveling, so a lot of people might say, well, you might be selfish with your own personal goals versus, rearing your own children. Me personally, how I would feel is that you would hope, you would wish, you would say, inshallah, my kids will grow older to understand that me helping the community and me helping my state, me helping my country, me being an activist for others helps them in turn. It helps them grow up in a better society. It helps them grow up in a better state. It helps them grow up in a better country. But if I don't do that and I don't just sit back and I'm just, retained to my home, then how is that going to help you in the future? So I think I just want to address that, really quick. But go ahead, continue.
No, it's a great point.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
A thought-sided person would say something like that. To a degree. Now, of course, family has rights. So you have to give your family rights. Let's get that straight.
That's right.
We must spend quality time with them and give them their rights no matter what responsibilities we may have outside the house. That's a fact. That being said, though, we must believe that what Malcolm did, what Martin did, benefited his daughters, their education, and so forth and so on. That's a fact.
Absolutely.
That's a fact. You know what I'm saying?
You have 30 seconds remaining.
Financial aid and so forth and so on for, to get a higher education and to better job opportunities. These things, I'm saying, I'm sure, surely these two brothers played a big part in that. That's a fact.
That's a fact. Major.
You know what I'm saying? So, I'm going to try to call you back real quick.
All right, inshallah.
Jamal.
An inmate at Northern State Prison. This call will be monitored and recorded. For customer assistance, collection, or complaint procedures, or to block future calls, dial 1-866-230-7761. To accept, thank you for using Global Tel Link.
What time you got? Assalamu
alaikum. It's 6:38. Wa alaikum assalam.
6 what?
6:38. 6:38.
Okay. Within 10 more minutes, because I gotta, yeah. So check this out. Now let's move towards his death.
Yeah. Yep.
Let's move towards his death, and then we'll close out with some history points from our own family. Brother, this death thing is going to be highly serious. Next time I call, we're going to the benefit of being a martyr, because he was martyred. Right? One of my sheikhs call him, I think they call him Shahid America. Shahid America. The American Shahid, the American martyr.
Oh, wow.
The one that died for Allah's sake. Right? So next time I call, we're going to the details of that. and what took place spiritually, because, you know, we have things to the naked eye. He got shot 15, 16 times, you know, and so forth and so on, and we know how it goes, you know, all the plots and how it went down. We can discuss that too, but then we're going to talk about the spirituality of it too, which is highly important.
Absolutely.
But now, you know, we'll talk about the spirituality of it next time. I just want to talk about what took place at the ALIM Ballroom. You know, basically, Malcolm was, you know, Hajj Malik El Shabazz. I keep calling him Malcolm because more people are more familiar with that name.
Absolutely. But, no, we using it as that's his, you know, the popular name, you know, so it's fine.
Yeah. So Malcolm, he knew that he was going to get shot. He pretty much knew. Yeah. He didn't know like exactly when, right? But he knew that at some point this was going to happen. Yeah. But you know, he walked in there with his carriage, which I will say, and let me go ahead and throw my jab in. You know me, I like to sometimes play the other side, look at the other coin. Me personally, I would have never did it. Me personally, right? Okay. Because everybody, you know, I say again.
Because but just let me finish. What I'm saying is, the reason why I would never did it is not because I'm afraid of death. As we know, death is going to take place, right? But I'm not walking into a place or I'm not staying in a city where not only am I not wanted, but they are trying to kill me multiple times. They bombed his house. They was shooting up his house. So it's time for you to move. You can go be an activist in California. You can go be an activist in Detroit. Yes, you can. And then you can always come back in New York. Also, there's also other stories out there. I'm not sure how true this is, but you know, Bumpy Johnson was his man. You know what I'm saying? So Bumpy Johnson, this is just a story. You know, I'm not sure how concrete it is, but Bumpy Johnson offered him security. He said, "Listen, I hear the talks around the streets. You need some people around you." Malcolm declined. Yeah. He declined.
Yeah, listen, I mean, what you said has a point, but number one, you do know. When he went, the Nation of Islam in the FBI, CIA was following all over the country. You know that, right?
They would have got him. They would have got him eventually.
They was following him all through the airport to try to kill him in California.
That's a fact.
I just read it not long ago. They was following him in the airport. They was chasing him all through the airport, trying to kill him out here on the streets of California, bro. The Nation, listen, wherever he went, the police departments would infiltrate his ranks, surveil him. Wherever he went, the CIA, FBI would surveil him, and the Nation was trying to kill him, literally, wherever he went. So he was nowhere, he wasn't safe anywhere in America. Let's get that straight. And he really wasn't safe, he really wasn't safe anywhere in the world, because they tried to kill him in Egypt.
That's right.
As you understand, as I mentioned earlier. Okay. But we know that Allah is the giver of life. And the taker, is the giver of life and the taker of souls.
Absolutely.
Allah, I'm saying, well, listen, we down today, so, you know, to deal with the vehicles under that really doesn't matter.
I hear
That's how he looked at it.
I'm glad you said that, because that negates my point. that really does throw my point right in the trash. You know what I'm saying? It really does.
Allah says the Quran. I just read in the Quran this morning. Allah said, "A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Inna nahnu nuhyi wa numitu wa ilayna al-masir." Allah says, "Indeed, we are the giver of life and the giver of death. And to us and to Allah will we all return. We will return back to Allah."
Absolutely.
Allah is the one that determines death, nobody else. And that was his trust in Allah. He had total tawakkul on Allah, total trust in Allah. That Allah would take my soul when he sees fit.
Wherever it may be.
So that's what we're saying.
Yeah.
Now we have some family interests. Well, not family interests, but let me tell you something.
Some family history.
You know, Pop Malik Rahimahullah has a friend, his best friend.
Absolutely.
We talk about it now. Sheikh Mustafa Rahimahullah Ta'ala, and Allah rest in his soul.
I heard a lot about this fella.
Brother, this had me flabbergasted. They had a documentary, I think it was called Who Killed Malcolm.
Yep. Right? It was on Netflix.
And really the whole documentary is on Sheikh Mustafa. I'm flabbergasted.
Yep.
I'm flabbergasted.
Yep.
So what the heck going on here? Now this is somebody that we call this is uncles. This is one of our uncles, one of our mentors, one of our leaders, one of our So we see how our family, but this is on the wrong, I'm saying the wrong side of the pancake. So now he didn't know, the documentary is basically saying that, Sheikh Mustafa, the Lord forgive him, get the kill shot. Get the kill shot. And I'm so sorry to say that. And no lie, I wrote Pop Rahimullah was in South Woods at the time. And I wrote it. And I said, Abu, I know Sheikh is our family. But even though I'm saying, because really, I wasn't able to get close to Sheikh, but I hear a lot from Pop and so forth, so on. I've been locked up. And he made dua for me when he made the Hajj. Sheikh Mustafa did. So I knew how much Pop loved him.
That's right.
I said, listen, even though we love him as a family, I love him because you love him. But I love Malcolm more. I love Malcolm more. And I feel some type of way about what took place. So it's not, he said, I'm not here to judge. I feel some type of way what took place. A hero was taken from us. So it's hard for me not to feel no type of way. But Pop said that, Jamal, you must realize that the nation of Islam back then, number one, he wasn't a real Muslim.
That's right.
He was a pseudo-Muslim, a fake Muslim that was brainwashed, indoctrinated.
Facts. Those two words are important. Those two words are important. Brainwashed and indoctrinated. Very important.
Yes.
But go ahead.
Yes. No, but he was brainwashed, indoctrinated. He really believed the fallacy, the great lie, that Elijah Poole was the last messenger of Allah. AUDUBON, Allah took us and believe in that. This is kufr. This belief. This is a lie. So when you believe that, he took the order. Now, we ask Allah, hopefully, as a mitigating factor for him. Now, we know eventually he wanted to become a real Muslim, alhamdulillah, coming to the Sunnah. Alhamdulillah. Becoming an Orthodox Muslim. And he made Hajj. And the Prophet, peace be upon him, said that whoever makes Hajj, Allah will forgive him for all his sins, or her for all her sins.
And look at the irony. Look at the irony. He killed a man who made Hajj, Hajj Malik El Shabazz, and then he ended up making Hajj himself. So it shows you that not only can somebody change their life like Hajj Malik El Shabazz did, from a pimp to being in jail, from being a part of the nation to all the way to being an activist, all the way to this guy being a part of the nation, of course, having his street days, and then he changed his life, as well. So it's transformation all over the place. It kind of came full circle in that sense. But go ahead.
Yes, full circle. Full circle. Full circle.
Unbelievable.
And then, my imam mentioned the hadith that he read. He said something more or less that the Prophet said that, sometimes in that situation you'll have a person that kills another person, but both of them will make paradise. Because the one that killed the one, he killed him before he was Muslim. So he martyred the one, he martyred Malcolm, so Malcolm was guaranteed instant paradise, instantaneously. And then now he made repentance to Allah. So we ask Allah to give him paradise also. But I like to mention, they showed the video when he was like 27 years old coming from the scene. Yeah. I said, man, because after a while I still had doubt in my heart. This one is strip of our history with the shit. Sheikh Mustafa. But when they showed the video on key, that was damning.
You knew it was him. You saw the shoulders. It was the shoulders.
Yeah, it was him. You see how stocky he was.
Yep.
I said, that's the shit. I was hurt. My heart was broken.
I hear you, Pop.
My heart was broken. I understand who Malcolm is. I understand who he was to us as a people.
Absolutely.
My heart was broken. I understand who he was to his family, to his daughters, and to his wife, and to his sisters, and so forth and so on.
Absolutely.
My heart was broken. And my heart was broken for Malcolm, for his family, for us as a people, but my heart was only even broken for the Sheikh. Because who wants to imagine to have that on your jacket, to have that on your soul, that you killed one of the greatest heroes, I would say the greatest American black hero ever to live in my book. Imagine walking with that burden on your back, that mountain on your back. Imagine that. The sorrow, the remorse, the regret. Right? And we know that Sheikh Mustafa, I know from Papa and from Big Lil. Big Lil told me a story when he said he tried to call the Sheikh when he was home. He was still in the street. Big Lil, he was still in the street. Sheikh Mustafa wouldn't even answer the phone call at the time. He said, brother, if you ain't on me, I'm not answering your phone calls. So we know that he was still in his repentance. He wasn't half-stepping when he really got on his deen.
He became sincere.
A gym that had a brand new gym, him and his wife, Sister Habiba, that serviced the community. They trained people at tutoring classes, computer classes. They were community activists.
Absolutely.
So now, so to say, like you said, it's full circle. You killed a man that was an activist, that made Hajj, that became a true Muslim, and then in turn, you repented to Allah, you became a true Muslim, you made Hajj, and you became a pillar of the community.
And look how Allah raised him in ranks. Cory Booker, the senator, the Senate, he actually sat down with him, had a whole meeting with him. But Cory Booker said he didn't know about his past. He didn't know about this whole situation. He was oblivious, ignorant to it, like most of us were, until the documentary came out. So look how Allah raised them in their ranks. It's really one of those stories that, I mean, it's a lot to learn from on all sides. You know what I'm saying? On all sides. So yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up. Grandpa Malik, he always would speak highly about Mustafa. Highly.
But then we talk about the burden of killing somebody that's great. Right? Walking with that burden. I'm walking with, even in my case, I'm walking with a person, even though I didn't do it, I'm involved mentally in a case that a good person was not born, Rahimullah, born honest, Allah rest his soul. I must mention it. That now, even though, Vaughn was young, so he didn't get a chance, maybe he was the next Malcolm. We don't know. His life was cut short. We don't know.
Absolutely.
Malcolm was young in the street, but he was a good person.
That's right.
He had good potential.
That's right.
So I don't know. Vaughn was a good person. For me to walk with that burden on my shoulder, I can sympathize on a small level. What Sheikh Mustafa was dealing with, brother. And I'm saying, we gotta stop. Stop killing each other, because we don't know what we're gonna become in the future.
Not only you killing a person, you killing his potential.
His potential. So I have to go on them saying, brother, I mean, it's heartbreak all around the board. The same thing, the heartbreak for Vaughn's family, Rahimullah, ta'ala, Allah rest his soul. The heartbreak for my family, the heartbreak for my co-defendant's family. As Allah says, whenever you kill one person, it's like killing all of mankind.
Everybody suffers.
Because the effect of it, the domino effect of it, everybody suffers. Everybody. Even the earth itself suffers, because we know that whenever a servant on the earth, a good servant on the earth, the earth misses that servant. Because the person serves no good deeds. The earth clogged. If you prayed on the earth, where's Abdul Ali? He prayed on me right here. I'm missing. This is serious.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
Off this burden, may Allah forgive Malcolm, he didn't do nothing wrong in that sense, but still for any of his sin, may Allah forgive Sheikh Mustafa for what he did, may Allah forgive me for what I did, may Allah forgive all of us for what we did, and make us really true Muslims and friends of God.
Absolutely.
And make us those pillars of the community who service the people, man, all people, from all walks of life, Muslim and non-Muslim. You want to close out? Go ahead.
No, and just to close out right there, we know that Islam is the most merciful religion. And Allah is the most merciful. He's the most forgiving of all sins. So, I will just leave it there. But yeah, we'll chop it up. Next time, getting into I guess the exact situation as far as who will be the next Malcolm per se, or who will be the next. What will be the next group or organization? That's similar to his. But we'll leave it there. Love you too, Pop. Love you too.
So we left off on talking about the death of Malcolm.
Yep.
Rahimullah, El Hajj Malik El Shabazz, Allah rest on his soul.
Inshallah.
And I think I mentioned before the ayat Arabic about those that die in the way of Allah. Allah says, do not consider them dead. We first started our discourse about Malcolm. We mentioned some of the verses to my memory. Did we not?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did. So we mentioned the evidence from Quran and Sunnah about those that die in the way of Allah, do not consider them dead. Okay? There's another hadith that teaches from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that as soon as the first trickle of blood comes from a person that is martyred, he sees his place, or she sees her place in paradise. And we see, and we know from the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, just reiterating real quick, that Allah puts the angels come to wash their bodies personally. That's why we commanded not to wash their bodies, because the angels are sent down to wash their bodies. Right? They're designated to wash their bodies, and Allah puts their souls in the bellies of heavenly green birds, and these heavenly green birds fly below His throne, and they get whatever they wish for in paradise. And Allah asks them, oh my servant, are you satisfied? Are you pleased? He said, oh my Lord, I'm pleased, but I request one thing. He said, what is that thing, my servant? He said, oh Allah. She says, oh Allah, I request to go back to your earth and die 10 more times in your way. To die 10 more times for your cause. So we cannot consider, you know what I'm saying, we shouldn't even call Hajj Malik Shabazz dead. We shouldn't even call Sister Betty Shabazz dead. They passed on to a better life. They are surely alive in the presence of Allah. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. We must believe that wholeheartedly. You know what I'm saying? So now, but we close out. But I want to revert to one, to go backwards from one point. The CIA blamed Malcolm for accepting money from Egypt. But in actuality, the evidence that came forward that it wasn't money they got from them. They gave the Azhar, the oldest Islamic university that still exists today, gave him 24 scholarships to the Islamic University for American Muslims, recommended by Malcolm to go over there and study. So we know that Wabi Muhammad, his brother, Elijah Poole's sons, had went over there to study, but it was really Malcolm that really publicized American Muslims going overseas studying abroad to learn Orthodox Islam. That's a fact. He started that movement on a high scale. And
the pioneer.
Many Muslims, they pioneered it. Many Muslims had took Shahada by his hand, directly and indirectly. I know of a Muslim sheikh from America who was Caucasian. Said he took Shahada because he was inspired by Hajj Malik El Shabazz, rahimahullah. You know what I'm saying? So, I stop there. I conclude the little knowledge that I have about Malcolm. May Allah forgive me for anything that I said that is wrong. And may Allah reward us for all that we said that was right. And I'll mention one more thing. That, because now we have heroes in our own family. We have Black Panthers in our family that became Muslim. Some didn't become Muslim. We have people of the nation that became true Muslim.
That's facts.
Like Grandma Muslim and Pop Malik. But we got Uncle Butch Cherry, James Cherry, who was a Black Panther. He's still in Chain State Prison right now. He's a Buddhist. But we ask Allah to guide him. But he's a beautiful man and highly intelligent. Highly intelligent. And we have many family members that was about the struggle. I'm saying for our people in our own family. That we mentioned and highlighted through the course of our discourse. So Allah is kind. So now it's my turn and your turn to pick up the baton and to not really be rebellious or cause sedition against our government. It's not about that. It's about rolling our sleeves up, doing something substantial and concrete for our communities.
The groundwork.
That's what it's about. The groundwork.
That's right.
Food banks. You know what I'm saying? Education. Really putting the full people's mouth and educating people, man, and showing love. That's what it's about.
Absolutely.
For all people.
Absolutely.
But, go ahead. I'll let you conclude from there.
No, definitely. I mean, that's something that I've definitely, been ambitious about for quite some time. And then really this year, last year, as I started getting back on my deen, I realized that it's no need for me to waste any time. Because I used to think that when you give back, especially when you give back to the hood or to the inner city, you got to give back with money, right? It's all money based. But this is true in some cases it's not. Like if you don't have the necessary means, a good word is given back. You actually, like you said, giving back as far as just showing love and talking to the kids, speaking to people with positive avenues for them to get out the hood and things like that, giving them advice on certain things. These is all ways of giving back as well. So when you look at Hajj Malik El Shabazz, maybe he didn't give back as far as money wise.
Stop right there.
Yeah.
Stop right there. We'll call you right back. Inshallah.
All right, inshallah, inshallah. Wa alaikum assalam. Yeah, so what I was saying, like if like for comparison's sake, right? Not to say like one is better or the other, right? But Andrew Carnegie, right, with one of the few men who built America, right, as they say. He has like libraries across the entire country. A lot of like majority of his wealth that he left behind, he gave back in charity, which is a very commendable thing to do. But he had the wealth to do so. Hajj Malik El Shabazz didn't have the capital to do so, but what did he give back? He gave back in a spiritual sense, as far as giving good word and giving the proper avenues and channels for not only people to be drawn to Islam, but to also, like you said, give back to their communities as well and put a spark in people in that way. So both of them are equally important. Not one outweighs the other, So I even had to learn that myself. But yeah, in terms of just El Hajj Malik El Shabazz and putting the cap on it, his name, I want to get back to how we started off. His name is El Hajj Malik El Shabazz. Malcolm X was, as he said, and it's something that Onk was even telling me too, how we're still calling him Malcolm X because we're still in the same condition as we were when he was Malcolm X. That's why we still that's what Malcolm X. This is what El Hajj Malik El Shabazz. He said they still gonna call me Malcolm X as long as we are in the same position as we was when I was Malcolm X. And I truthfully feel that we are in a even worse of position than what we was back then. Back then, there was way more black ownership, way more, okay? There's way more black empowerment, way more black self-worth, way more individuality. Nowadays, these things have all been stripped away by not only the government, but also because of our own wrongdoing as well. I don't like to always blame the government and blame slavery. Come on, we make some mistakes as well as a community and as a whole. So we have to look at ourselves and correct ourselves as well. So and it starts with just looking at the facts. If we still calling Malcolm X, if we still calling El Hajj Malik El Shabazz Malcolm X, we got a long way to go.
Yes.
We got a long way to go, Pop. You know what I'm saying? So that's really why I'll leave it right there.
The point you made was profound. That we call him the name because it's a reflection of who we are mentally and spiritually. And, mentally and spiritually. So it's really a reflection of where we are.
Yeah.
We haven't really looked at some history.
Yeah.
We haven't really become conscious towards the truth. But let me add this one story, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
One 1990, just to harp on or to give some enlightenment about our own family having our own history in this struggle. 1990, our cousin Abdul Hakim, Tony, and his wife Mildred took me to New York. I'm 15 years old. So this willy-nilly, he says nonchalantly, yo, after we get going, before we go, we're going to stop past Tupac mom's house. I'm like, what? He just said, just like that. So I'm looking like, yo, okay. So I'm saying, but in my mind, I'm thinking, because I'm in the streets, we don't be groupies, so, all I know is Tupac to be a rapper. And aspiring rapper at the time. He's down with Digital Underground at the time. He's in California at the time. He wasn't in New York. But his mom, Afeni and them, the sexual and them, lived in Manhattan. So we go to Manhattan to the apartment. And we go there. To tell the truth, Afeni at the time, the queen Afeni, Miss Afeni, wasn't in the best of conditions. He was still addicted to drugs at the time. They were still poor at the time. But I didn't know who she was. All I knew her to be was Tupac's mother. I didn't even know at the time that she was Aunt Charlene, who was Tony's mother. They're like sisters at the time. I don't know this. At this time, I'm ignorant. I'm an ignorant, little boy, 15. So Tupac little brothers rapping to me, yo, my brother gonna be big. He rapping for us. And then I tried to, Allah forgive me, seduce sexual. I talked to his sister sexual all night long. But we talked, but I had ill intent. Allah forgive me.
You was a young man.
I was young, but she was also 15. known then because she was 15, I was 15. But her maturity, she was talking to me like she was 32 years old. And she let me down, and she turned me down in the most mature, beautiful way. She just kept saying, "Oh, I can't do nothing with you because when my boyfriend comes from the military, we are getting married." She was 15 years old talking like this. She was 15, and even though they wasn't doing good financially, she was manicured, hair done, everybody was clean, but she was highly intelligent, brother. I should have known something then. Long story short, I get locked up for this case in 2000. 10 years later, I start to read Black history books about the Black Panthers. That's what I'm seeing there. I see one of the queens of the Black Panthers. I see a finished record. One of the leaders of the Panther 21, who was facing 307 years, who beat trial pro se, pregnant with Tupac. If I had known that, I'd have kissed her feet. But check this out. Aunt Charlene, our blood family, is her sister. Aunt Charlene lived with her to her death. She did it, and they did lots for each other. They like blood sisters, brother. Tupac and cousin Tony are like brothers, brother. Literally, like brothers. They grew up in the Black Panther together. Grandma Muslima would take me to East Orange as an infant baby. We would stay with them, spend time with them. I just was too young to remember. And because we came to Islam, nobody not really set me down. Not even. I said, "Tony, why didn't you tell me your history? You just told me Tupac mother." I'm thinking she about just some up and coming rap at the time. Not knowing that, not knowing the position they had and the leadership position they had in the Black Panthers.
Absolutely.
Not knowing that they were heroes, him and her. Basically the whole family, really. And not only knowing that, my cousin Tony, they heroes. Sharon and my Aunt Charlene. They've been part of this thing. This is serious, brother. This is, I'm saying, I just want to, bring light to that our family is so entrenched in the history of the struggle and trying to, bring about betterment for the people that we had a family member talk about Tupac mom nonchalantly, as if she was just like some regular, like it's like that's normal. That's not normal.
Because for them it was second nature. That's how they grew up. It was already a part of their upbringing. You know what I'm saying? So
to him it's just regular.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But
I'm putting that over the phone. He was laughing, but then the feature piece, I'm sorry.
no, but even with that, like when like a word that you said, this word is not used anymore in terms of when people resist or revolutionary movements or organizations. They don't use the word struggle anymore, right? If you look at I was talking to Unc about this. If you look at all of the previous movements, Black Panther, all of the movements that came before and after, these were all people, in the main term that they use, all synonymous, the struggle, right? Because at that time, Black people were struggling, in all forms of facets in society, right? Now, being that Black people are a little bit more up financially, being that Black people are, you can quote unquote say, more accepted in society, that we feel as though that some Black people, not all, but some Black people feel as though they're not even struggling, right? So there's no struggle to overcome if you don't feel as though that there's a struggle there, right? So that's even a way to look at it, like in terms of where they were back then and their mentality towards progression versus our mentality towards progression. We feel as though we already progressed. You know what I'm saying? We like, oh, we not slaves no more. You know what I'm saying? But we're not even looking at mass incarceration. We're not looking at all of these other laws that were put in to prevent you from trying to progress. And even then you still can, but you got to stick together. We got to learn from the Hispanics how they stick together. We got to learn from the Asians how they stick together. But as I was talking to Unc as well, one of the main things that we don't have as they do have is what? Culture and language. Those are the two things, right? They took that away from us in slavery. So that's why it's very important for us as a Black people to have, a majority, a consensus amongst us as a language that we use and a culture that we have. The more we get diverse in our culture, the more we get diverse in our language, the further we separate from each other. But go ahead.
Yes. Yes. No. That's a profound point. And you can say what you're saying, how people say we don't struggle no more because we have a me mentality versus a we mentality. Back then they had a we mentality. They didn't look at, well, since my immediate household's doing good, it's hell with everybody else.
That's right.
They didn't think that way. They looked at the whole corpus, they looked at the whole collective, all the people. What is the condition of my people? That's how they were back in the day. Now it's the condition of, just me and my family. The heck with everybody else. Until some nonsense is on my porch, I don't care,
Right.
That narcissistic, selfish way of thinking.
Right.
It wasn't like that back then. You know what I'm saying? I mean, in that case, we know how Malik El Shabazz could have stayed over in Egypt and been had a high position in the administration of the president.
That's right.
He could have been in Saudi. He could have been in Saudi. Brother, he had access to the treasures of the world. Understand it. Don't underestimate that. King Fahd was was basically his student. Listen to him about what's going on in America. They would have gave him anything. They would have gave him millions of dollars. Millions easily, brother. Easily. Millions upon millions. Gave him a big palace, a great position. Made him ambassador. Made him all types of positions he could have been. But he turned all that down because he didn't have a me mentality. It wasn't about just him and his family. It was about all the people.
That's right.
All the people's rights. And we lost that. We lost that consideration.
That's right.
For everybody. And that love for everybody.
That's right. And even then, just to piggyback as far as like what you're saying about him going overseas, I feel as though a lot of, even now, I'm pretty sure it was like this back then, but even now, a lot of people have a sort of a bad taste in their mouth about Arabs, right? About like people from like Arabia, right? As far as like they're Muslim. Why? Is because they feel as though like the slavery, I truthfully feel as though black people can't get over the word slave of God. Like there's certain black people or some black people in America that the word slave, it just has such a bad connotation to it, to where it's hard for them to say I am a slave of God, right? I'm obedient to God, right? Because obviously we know that particular language was used in order to make them slaves by the Christians. They was, manipulating the word, manipulating the meanings, right? So that's why it has such a bad taste to it. And then they look at the Arabs like, oh, they had slaves back then and how they had slaves and stuff like that. But when we really got to look at it, first we got to look at the word slave. What does it mean? Okay, there's you being a slave of God, being obedient to God. That's number one. Number two, you being a slave in terms of if there was a wartime and they didn't kill all of y'all, then the rest of y'all who's living, y'all possibly can be slaves. Okay, that's number one. That's number two. Number three, also, if your family was in debt to another family and you were the kid of your father who was in debt to another family, then you might become a slave at that time. Now, in terms of harsh treatment, oppressive treatment on those people, that was done years and years and centuries and centuries and centuries after. Way after. In terms of it being common practice. Right? So, I'm just saying, like, black people in the word slave, I feel as though that's why we have such a bad connotation or a bad taste with Arabs, and black people just want to be black Muslims without studying overseas and taking from people overseas. But go ahead.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
I just want to say this real quick. We know the problem of the sense that he who frees the slave, Allah will free all of his or her body parts from the hellfire. So just study his life of Prophet Muhammad and see how he really abolished slavery.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Intimidation, but he abolished it. So, I just want to mention that, but go finish. You know what I'm saying? Go finish.
No, that was it. No, I wrapped it up. You right. No, you good.
Yeah. I want to make that clear. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times people say things, but study the
You have 30 seconds remaining.
Study his life and see how he dealt with slavery.
That's right.
How he abolished it.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's very important, Yeah, but listen, son, I'm so proud of you. I love you so much.
Love you too, Pop. All right. Assalamu alaikum.
For complete procedures or to block future calls, dial Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Wa alaikum assalam. It's 3:22.
Okay, Shalom, we got the 3:30, inshallah.
Okay.
We're still on there, right? We still on?
Yeah, we still on.
Yeah. I just wanted to mention that I enjoyed this discourse about Hajj Malik El Shabazz, may Allah rest in his soul. I'm so proud of you, brother. I'm saying I know it takes patience, on both of our sides. You know what I'm saying? And I hope we learn from it. I hope we inspired by it, and I hope you and I became closer because of it, and build a bond off of it, and learn some lessons from not only from Hajj Malik El Shabazz's life, his family's life, as well as our family's life.
That's right.
Our family's lives. But that's pretty much it, man. I'm happy to be alive to conclude it. I hope we take lessons from it.
Alhamdulillah. And really, me and you both, we have, the Reformation. Some inklings, some tricklings of the Reformation of Hajj Malik El Shabazz in us. You reforming your life, you know what I'm saying, as what you was doing in the past versus what you're doing now. Me on a much, I guess, smaller, minute level, but really on a more spiritual tip, as far as where I was last year around this time versus where I'm at this year around this time. So and I think a great example of Hajj Malik El Shabazz is we take it back to the ancient times of Bashir the Barefoot, okay, and he was one of the main components that I take in terms of reform, as like a reform man. His story is very, very profound. I just want everybody to Google his story, or do some learnings on that. Bashir the Barefoot. He was barefoot for a reason. You know what I'm saying? So like Hajj Malik El Shabazz is took kind of the reformations of him as well. So it's one of the best things that we can do. It doesn't stop here. You continue to reform yourself all the way up until the way you die. Why? Because you will continue to be tested by Allah. So every time you get tested, it's going to be reformation, because sometimes you might pass it, you might fail, how large or small the test is, right? So there's always room for reformation. There's always room for correction. You're never going to get to a point of perfection, of ihsan, but that's what we strive to be, and we strive to be like Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Yes.
So
we can conclude there. Inshallah. We can conclude with Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wal Asr, by the token of time. Inna al-insana lafi khusr. Indeed, man is in loss. Inna alladhina amanu wa aminu as-salihati wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr. Except those who believe in the righteous deeds and exhort one another to the truth, and exhort one another to patience and perseverance. Subhanaka Allahumma bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, wa nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam.